Welcome everybody to Fantasy Pros. It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and we got a great show for you today. That's right, because we're talking Major League Baseball futures. I like to look into the future and see what's going on, and the future's very lucrative if you're joining us here at BettingPros. And we are live with you here on the show today, and Dan Harris and I are going to take you through the winners for the divisions, the odds that we like. We're going to talk about World Series and playoffs as well, and we're going to talk about some of the big awards. We're talking MVP, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, all the biggies. So Dan Harris, it's a little Betting Pros action for you today. Are you excited to talk a little baseball here and change things up? Because I know it's March and everyone wants to talk about is basketball, but I don't. I want to talk some baseball today.
I have been enjoying March Madness. I will admit even more than I usually do, but now I am ready. We are recording this on Tuesday. The season starts on Thursday. I am ready to go. I have very strong feelings on a lot of this stuff, so let's do it.
I like when Dan has strong feelings. That's what I like. I don't like weak feelings. You take those weak feelings and you get out of my show. Get out with the weak feelings. Only the strong survive here. And of course, if you want to get some of these odds here, the great thing about Betting Pros is it takes all the different odds from all these different places. You get the Betting Pros consensus lines too. And then you can look for lines that you want to exploit, basically, whether it be on FanDuel or DK or FoxBet or MGM, all these kind of different sites. They've got them all here in one condensed spot on Betting Pros, and that's why you hang out with us here on the show. So let's start with the American League East. The Yankees are a consensus minus 200. That's no fun. Then the Rays plus 350. The Blue Jays are the same at plus 350. Red Sox at 20-1, and the Orioles, forget it, 500 million to whatever.
They don't have a number high enough for the Orioles.
It's actually broken the site. That's it. No, it's plus 5,200 just in case you wanted to see it. But you know. Let's talk about the Yankees, Dan, because you always pay a tax on the Yankees because they're the Yankees. And, to wager 200 just to win 100, to me, I'm never a big fan of that. And plus, the Yankees have some question marks in that rotation. I mean, you got Taillon's innings question, you got Kluber's health, you got whether or not Herman can, do it for a whole season. And I don't know, man. This just does not feel like a smart wager to me. Now, that being said, that kind of opens the door for maybe the Rays or maybe the Blue Jays. So do you have any feelings about either of these two who are both basically at 3.5-1?
All right, so I know I said I had strong feelings about stuff. This is not a division of strong feelings, to be as fair as possible. I will have it later. I agree with you. The Yankees at minus 200, definitely not worth it. Do I think they're the favorite to win the division? I do, but it's not something that I feel comfortable enough with those odds. I don't mind either the Rays or the Blue Jays at plus 350. Now, the Blue Jays are already dealing with a bunch of injuries. They're going to lose Springer a little bit at the start of the season. They have already lost Kirby Yates. Robbie Ray is going to miss his first couple of starts after he fell and hurt his elbow on the stairs. So I think if I were going to go somewhere, and maybe I'm just overrating the fact that the Rays always manage to figure out how to maximize their potential, but I do like the Rays. And again, you mentioned it, Joe. The consensus line is 350. You look at the different books, which we have on bettingpros.com. At BetMGM, they're plus 450, and at PointsBet, they're plus 600. If you can get that at PointsBet at plus 600, I really like that. At plus 350, I still think it's worth a sprinkle on them to win the division. We'll talk about it. I like the Rays in some different futures a little bit later, but if I'm looking at this division, not one of the more enticing divisions, I think I probably would favor the Rays at plus 350. And again, if you can get it at one of these higher numbers, I would.
I'm going to go with the Blue Jays here. I think they've got enough goods down there in the farm system to keep making some more moves. And I think they're going to acquire some more pitching at some point in this season. So to me, I think this is a young team that doesn't know any better, doesn't know they're not supposed to compete with the Yankees. And I think that makes them very dangerous. I'm off the Rays this year. You lose Morton, you lose Snell. That's a lot to lose in my opinion. So I can't get there. They were built for 60-game season last year. The Rays were made for that. 162 is a different animal. I'm going to go with the Blue Jays here as the best wager, and that's where I would lean. Now, on the Central side, the White Sox consensus minus 120. Then you have the Twins at plus 125. Cleveland at 7-1 at plus 700. The Royals at plus 4,000. And the Tigers at plus 6. Now, for me, Cleveland is the really intriguing one because, yes, they did lose Lindor, but you're getting basically 7-1 in some places, even 750 or 8 on PointsBet. But they've got Shane Bieber, who is, in my opinion, the best pitcher in that division, one of the best pitchers in baseball. And on top of that, you got a great manager who's been there and done that in Terry Francona. They did bring in some more offense there to replace what they lost with Lindor. Is there replacing Lindor? No, but Jimenez is going to be a nice player, I think. And on top of that, Eddie Rosario is a good bat. So to me, I think Cleveland's got enough pitching to really make this interesting. At the end of the day, I think the White Sox are markedly better. The Twins, I am completely lukewarm on. To me, there's too many problems there. But the interesting wager here is maybe you bet the White Sox and then take a little bit, and as you like to say, sprinkle a little bit on Cleveland at those higher odds, because I think there's an outside chance they could surprise people.
Cleveland is my favorite bet, actually, at plus 700 to win the division. We've talked about the White Sox before, Joe. We did an episode a couple of weeks ago about sort of the win totals, and, it was 91.5, I think, at the time. Obviously, the White Sox have since lost Eloy Jimenez, which is a big loss. It's not a critical loss to them necessarily, but it's a big loss. And again, that's going to open up more playing time for Andrew Vaughn, who I like very much. I just don't think that either the White Sox or the Twins is significantly better than the other one, so I don't have a great feel for one of those teams. But what I do know is that Cleveland is always able to outperform what it should be able to do, and maybe part of that is Francona, or maybe it's just, the front office knowing what
it's to pitching, too. I mean, they've always got good starting pitching every year.
They are able to take these command guys and just say, if you have the command, we can mold you into a successful major league pitcher. They do it every year. They did it with Plesac, who, again, I'm not a huge Plesac guy. But
no, I'm well aware.
But we like Savale pretty much, in that rotation. Of course, Bieber is, if not the best pitcher in the American League, then the second best behind Garrett Cole. But again, their bullpen's pretty good. Karinchak has some control issues, but he can strike out everybody. Nick Whitgren is sort of a quiet cog there. And the addition of Eddie Rosario was really key because, again, he's just kind of this forgotten guy. When he plays all around solid baseball, he really lengthens that lineup. He gives them another hitter behind Jose Ramirez. And again, you are going to have Andres Jimenez, who I think is going to add that nice extra speed dimension. Plus Cesar Hernandez, decent guy at the top of the order. They're a team that I don't expect to win the division, but at plus 700, those are the odds I like best.
That's some pretty good up the middle defense too, with Hernandez and Jimenez as well. So I don't know what they're going to do with Rosario. It doesn't look like not much, but at this point, I think Jimenez is clearly the guy that they were targeting in that deal when they moved Lindor. On to the West here, the Astros are the favorite at plus 125. The A's plus 145. Again, this is the consensus at BettingPros. And then the Angels at plus 375, with the Mariners bringing up the rear, plus 26. And the Rangers at your nice old 60-1. So we'll forget about the bottom feeders here. It's really whether or not you want to make a case for the Angels, because the A's are tricky. The A's are always a tricky wager because you're not getting huge odds on them because they're always kind of hovering around that. The Astros are the favorites for a reason. I think they should be. They still have McCullers and Greinke at the top of that rotation. They still got a ton of talent in that offense. It's whether or not you want to make a case for the, somewhere around 3.5 or even to 4-1 Angels odds. So for them to win this division, a lot of things would have to break right. I'm still the stay away. If anything, I would still go with the Astros because I just think, the Astros are that team that just doesn't want to go away. And I know a lot of people want them to, but I still think they're very good. And I think Dusty Baker's going to have them right back in the playoffs, and I do think they're going to win this division. So I'm going chalk here with the Astros. What do you think about the Angels and the Astros, or even the A's in this one?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm on the Astros. I know they're the favorite at plus 125, as you mentioned. And again, you can't get much better than that. Maybe plus 130 out there at BetMGM, but that's pretty much where you're at. But I still think there's value there. The A's, look, they always outperform what they're supposed to do, but they're just not going to be as good as they have been in previous years. They would need a lot of things to go right. I think losing Hendricks at the back end of that bullpen, I know Trevor Rosenthal is there, but they're not the same caliber pitcher. And I just think there's going to be some fall off for them. The Angels, we talked about this at the win totals. The Angels basically haven't gone above 500 in like 6 seasons at this point. And yes, could Shohei Ohtani completely transform them? It's possible. We'd love to see it. He obviously had the blister yesterday, but I don't think so, man. It's not even worth a sprinkle to me at close to 4-1. To me, this is the Astros division. They're going to be fine. And again, we'll talk about this a little later because I like some other futures with the Astros, but they have the ability to trade and do whatever they want because they've got a good farm system and they will go for it here. So I do like the Astros, even as the favorite, at plus 125.
All right, so let's do our winner in the American League then, because the Yankees are the favorites at plus 230, the White Sox at 380, the Twins at plus 750, and then after that you got the Rays at 850, the Blue Jays at plus 875, plus 900 for the A's, and then 10-1 for the Astros, which is funny because I think people kind of discounting the Astros a little bit. I mean,
Yep.
the Astros at 10-1 is fascinating because they could absolutely get back in this thing and be super annoying and piss off Major League Baseball and say, hey, look at us, everybody. And they were in the playoffs last year and they caused problems. So
Yep.
I'm just throwing that out there. But in terms of short series, I really like the White Sox. Plus 380, that's where I'm going to go. That's my lean. And I feel strongly about it because they added Lance Lynn along with Giolito and Keuchel. Those are three pitchers I believe in. You could add in a guy like Michael Kopech. If you do indeed get Eloy back healthy, what a boost that is in September potentially. And again, that's a big if, but still, this is a great team, and it tells you how good they are because they lost Eloy, and they're still the favorite in this division by a fair amount. So, look, I think the White Sox are the fascinating bet because I think in a short series, this team is in. Again, it's young, it's hungry. They've got the closer now, too, that shutdown guy in Hendricks. So I like the White Sox here. The Yankees are the chalk. I don't think the chalk is bad here. But to me, I think the nice in-between is that plus 380 about consensus you're getting with the White Sox. Who do you like to represent the American League in the World Series?
My favorite bet, and it's clear favorite bet for me in this one, is the Astros at plus 1,000. Again, I think there are a couple of things. Number one, I think you want to avoid a team that might be a wild card, right? Because you can get bounced.
It's a great
very
point.
Quickly, which is one of the reasons, by the way, why I worry a little bit about the White Sox, because I don't know that they're going to win that division. I feel pretty and maybe I shouldn't, but I feel pretty confident that the Astros are going to win their division. And if they do, they've got two things really working for them. Number one, I guarantee you, if they're there, they're going to add a significant piece. And again, Framber Valdez, who was originally out for the entire season, he's not going to be out for the season now anymore. I mean, he may miss a significant chunk, but coming back late in the season, that's going to be a significant add. As who also might be is Verlander. It's possible that he's going to come back in the playoffs at this point, even if he's just a bullpen piece, even if he's a closer, perhaps even in there, given that he's going to come back, he could be another addition that can make them really difficult. We talked about Carlos Correa on previous podcasts. We really like him. The Astros were abysmal last year. They couldn't hit anything, and they still made the playoffs. So I think they're going to make it back. I think they're going to do some damage here in the playoffs. So they are my pick at plus 1,000 to win the American League.
So if I gave you odds of plus or minus one inning for Justin Verlander in 2021, you're going the over, huh?
I think all right. If the postseason counts, I'm going to take the over.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that he pitches in this postseason.
Wow, I love that. That would be a great story. Yeah. I love this. I love this scripture writing for 2021. Okay, let's talk a little National League East here. The Braves at plus 120 consensus, number one. Followed by the Mets at plus 140, the Nats at plus 600, the Phillies 875, and the Marlins plus 2,500. So we'll leave the Marlins and the Phillies alone here. I don't think either of us really want to go there. Yes, baseball, anything can happen, but let's not get crazy here with some of these. The Braves are the easy chalk, and I don't think it's a bad idea. The Braves have the pitching. The Braves have consistency. And look, they're built for the regular season. I'm always worried about them in the postseason, though. That's always where, and it's always been the case. You know, it's been bullpen issues. It's also they strike out a ton. It's creating runs. Sometimes it's a problem for the Braves. Now, the Mets are doing a better job, I think, this year of constructing a lineup to create runs. The addition for Lindor is very good. But to me, this is kind of like the, I guess, the same version of the Cleveland situation in the American League.
Yep.
If everything breaks right for the Nats, they have the best rotation in this division. And that is what's built for 162, not to mention Josh Bell and Schwarber coming over to join Soto and Turner and Victor Robles hopefully bouncing back and still a very young player. So the Nats at plus 600, someplace you can get them for 650 also. Dan, that's very tempting for me.
Yeah, man. God, it's almost annoying that we see things so eye to eye on this one just because it'd be great to have more back and forth. But I agree with you. Do I expect the Nationals to win this division? No, but it's very much like Cleveland. And actually, it's better than Cleveland, which is why their odds are a little shorter at plus 600. And again, you mentioned plus 650 at BetMGM, plus 650 at PointsBet, so you can get even better if you go there. But I agree with you. There is a very, very clear path for them to win this division. It takes their starters getting back to what they do best. Scherzer looks good and healthy right now. Hopefully Strasburg is fine. Corbin hasn't had the greatest spring, but again, if he gets back, it's going to be good. Their bullpen, obviously, with the addition of Brad Hand, and you mentioned Josh Bell having a monstrous spring, really lengthens that lineup. Adding Schwarber to maybe the best player in baseball in Juan Soto, they can really make some noise. So it's something where if I had to choose between the Braves and the Mets, I don't really know. It might be the Mets a little bit just because I feel like, again, you're seeing it right now. Carlos Carrasco goes out. In past years, it would be, oh my God, they've got to go into the minor leagues and get this reliever and have him spot start for 2 months. But they have Lucchesi. They have depth right now.
Taijuan Walker, Lucchesi, Peterson.
Exactly.
They've got options, which is smart. And you know what? I think they did a very good job of continuously building this offseason for the depth. And I'll say this too. I think the depth of the bench for the Mets is very good too.
Yes.
The versatility, the athleticism that they have on that bench. The Mets are a decent, it's funny. The East, you can really make a case for all three teams at the top. Obviously, the Nats are the one where it's kind of boom or bust there, but the 6-1 odds there. But look, this is one where you could hedge if you wanted to a little bit, because I think there's some opportunity there depending on how you want to strategically wager and how much you want to put on each one of these teams. Let's move over to the Central, where the Cardinals, of course, being a national team, are at the top there, plus 105. The big addition of Arenado, that's great and all, but we'll get to that in a second. Brewers at plus 300 is the consensus for them. Reds at plus 330, which is kind of surprising to me. I don't get that one.
Nuts.
The Cubs 425 and the Pirates 6,500. So Pittsburgh, I'm sorry. It's going to be a rough haul. The Cubs are out of it too. I'm sorry. They're a team that's going to jettison everybody as soon as they can, which leaves us the Brewers and the Cardinals. And I mean, when are we going to learn that the Brewers are always going to be good? I mean, they as long as Christian Yelich is healthy, this team is going to compete. And now Freddie Peralta looks like he might be putting it together. And if he does, you got him, Corbin Burns, and Woodruff at the top of that rotation with arguably the best bullpen in the league, right? With Devin Williams and Josh Hader. This is a good team. Colton Wong and Jackie Bradley shore up the defense. It's all about staying healthy now, but still, man, I like this Brewers 3-1. In some spots, you can get like on Fox Bet plus 375.
At Fox Bet, Joe, the Brewers have longer odds to win the division than the Reds. Oh, in what universe are we in where the Reds should have better odds? Where are we? Where are we?
Well, I'm also where are we where the Cardinals are such a prohibitive favorite?
Yes.
Because I think it's just easy. What's the rest of this rotation? Because it's not great.
No, I mean, I was shocked when I saw that. And I get that the Cardinals, they added Arenado and they have a strong lineup and their rotation is okay, I guess. But the Brewers...
What pitcher do you feel good about besides Flaherty on the Cardinals?
Nobody right now.
Nobody
whatsoever.
I agree. No. That's my problem. You're giving me 162 of this staff, and you're going to tell me that Reyes finally becomes something, or Carlos Martinez figures things out again and gets on track? No, I'm not buying at that. Just not doing it anymore.
I have zero interest in the Cardinals at basically even money, right? Plus 105. The Brewers at plus 300 all day. We talked about the win total. That was my favorite bet, was over 82.5. I think it's gone up now to 83.5. I still like it there, but I liked it at over 82.5. This is a very, very underrated team. You mentioned a couple things. First of all, Yelich is going to bounce back. I guarantee it. When Lorenzo Cain, a guy we both liked, again, missed all of last year because he opted out. He is back now. And again, he was not healthy. He had the quad, but he is back playing now. The addition of Colton Wong is huge, if for no other reason than his defense adds a huge dynamic there. The bullpen is fantastic. Corbin Burns is absolutely legitimate. Brandon Woodruff does not get the respect he deserves.
100%.
I have always been the fade Freddie Peralta guy. Like, I've never liked him, but I don't know. I like what I've seen a lot in this spring, so I'm kind of excited to see what he can do. So Brewers, this is not close to me. Brewers at plus 300 is the bet that I love in this division.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% here. All right, let's go to the West, which is basically a two-team race. I mean, the Giants are 50-1, the D-backs are 50-1, the Rockies are 51. I think we can all kind of dismiss them. It's whether or not you want to pay the premium on the Dodgers, which is minus 250. So for those of you who are new, it's putting 250 down to win 100. That doesn't seem like a good day at the office, no matter how good the Dodgers are. Or to have a little fun with the Padres at the plus 200. Now, here's the thing. It would be fun to play around with the Padres, but I think at the end of the day, the Dodgers still win this division. So for me, I'm going to stay away from the West because it's just not, if the Padres were 3 or 4-1, okay, now I'm kind of listening, but 2-1, it's kind of like, it's okay, but so many things would have to go wrong for the Dodgers. You'd have to have Kershaw with the back issue. You'd have to have Walker Buehler continue to be bad like he's been in spring. You'd have to have Trevor Bauer, be bad Trevor Bauer, and maybe a Cody Bellinger injury. Like, you'd have to have all these things happen. But I don't know. I just don't see a world where the Dodgers aren't winning this division, so I'm just going to pass on this one.
We talked about the fact that Dustin May was named the 5th starter, and I was like, cool, that changes absolutely nothing for me because I know that they're going to have all those guys start with David Price and Gonsolin. It means nothing. Yeah. This is a team, if there was ever a team that's built for every part of the season, they have so much depth. So much would have to go wrong for them to not win the division. But at minus 250, what's the point? It's just not something that I want to do because the Padres are a very good team. But again, yeah, it's just to stay away. I mean, I'm not sprinkling at all on, the Giants or the D-backs or the Rockies or plus 5,000. It's just not worth it. There's no chance. So for me, yeah, just not a bet. I mean, if you want to get in on the Dodgers, as we'll talk about in a little bit, for like the World Series or the league, fine. But to win the division, forget about it. Just stay away.
All right, so that'll bring us to the National League winner, where the Dodgers are obviously the favorites to defend their crown at plus 175. The Padres, now here's where I like the Padres, plus 390. This is where I'm listening because look at this pitching staff in a short series. Look, they could even bring up a Mackenzie Gore at some point, right? They've got all this depth. They got guys like C.J. Abrams in the minor leagues too. Like if they need something, they can go down and pluck it and they can fill the holes. I do think at some point in time they will get better in the bullpen. I really do. I don't think it's going to be Pagan and Melanson when all's said and done. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's not going to be those guys.
I don't even hate the bullpen, by the way. I mean, if Pomerantz is healthy and he's pitching right now, I don't hate it.
They're going to go in on somebody. I don't know who it's going to be.
Oh, you can tell. They're not holding back this season at all.
They've got the chips to move to do it, to make it all work. And that's the other thing, too. That's why I like Toronto, because I feel like they can keep being aggressive. So the Dodgers plus 175, the Padres 390. The Braves are at 5-1. The Mets are at plus 525. The Cardinals 1050. The Reds blah blah blah. So let's be realistic here. I don't like any of the long shots. If you want to play around with the Nationals and that narrative at 20-1, okay. Because once again, you get the Nats in a short series with a healthy Strasburg, Corbin, and Max Scherzer. Yikes! Like that is a lot to deal with. So I get that long shot in the National League. That's the only long shot of all these I like. But to me, that Padres at plus 390. That pitching, those four guys we've talked about before with Musgrove, with Snell, Darvish, and Chris Paddock. I like this group. I think they're hungry, they're ready to go, and I think they will add more pieces, which is kind of scary when you think about it. And they're a good defensive team too. Hosmer at first is a really good defensive player. Tatis and Machado, all these guys, very good defensive team. So I like the Padres. Where are you leaning for the National League crown?
My worry with the Padres is, again, I don't think they're going to win the division, which means they've got to get through a wild card, which means it's just automatically an extra variable that we may not see. Now, again, do they have the staff? Oh, sure. You can start Darvish in that game, and you're going to be the favorite no matter who you're facing. So I don't mind them at 390. If we are talking a long shot, by the way, you did mention the Nationals, which, again, at plus 2,000. But I also kind of like the Brewers at plus 2,500 because I do think they will win their division. And if they win their division, if they add a real ace starter, if they're able to sort of make a move at the deadline, they could become a true powerhouse. But outside of that, I actually kind of like the Mets at plus 525. And the reason is I think it's probably at this point, they're probably like, I don't know. They obviously have a decent chance to win their division if everything goes well. Now you want to talk about the playoffs. You've got the best pitcher in baseball, who you're going to be favored when you get there. The Mets have not only the money, but they have enough in the farm system to be able to make a move at the deadline. And again, the money thing, Joe, this is what I screamed about with the Wilpons. Joe and I are both Mets fans, by the way, if you have not heard that before.
Miserable people.
Miserable human beings and baseball fans. But you now have Steve Cohen who, are you trying to give somebody away so we can not have to really give up grade A prospects, but you need somebody to take on salary? Great, we can do that because money is irrelevant. That's great. You can do that at the deadline, hopefully. And also, who hopefully will come back in the middle of the year is Noah Syndergaard. You add to him Carrasco, and suddenly, if those guys are all healthy, you've got to get through to Grom and Carrasco and Syndergaard and hopefully Stroman, who I think is going to take a step up. That's a really, really good rotation and a team that can make some noise. So for me, I think there's a good chance the Mets are going to get into the rotation, into the playoffs. And if they do, I think they have a team that's kind of built for it. So I kind of like them. Like I like them much better than the Braves at plus 500 because you talked about it. You worry about the Braves a little bit once you get to the playoffs. Once you get to the playoffs for the Mets, I feel good about it. So I do like them a little bit at plus 525.
I certainly hope so. I haven't seen them win a World Series since I was 8 years old, so you could do the math on that, folks. All right, so to win it all, the World Series, the Dodgers plus 350, the Yankees at 550, the Padres at 800, the White Sox at 850, then the Braves are 10-1, Mets are 10-1, Twins are 20-1, Astros 22, Blue Jays 22, Cards 22, and then you get to the 25 and over, starting with the Rays and A's and Nationals at plus 3,300. So for me, obviously, I've kind of mapped out my White Sox Padres World Series, which I would very much like to see. I think that would be good fun. They're both kind of the same here, plus 800, plus 850. At the end of the day, look, I think the White Sox are just that lineup that doesn't quit. And I think that the pitching staff is very good. The Padres are there too. I think you could kind of hedge with either one of these and bet them at the top of the season, both of them. And I think one of them might actually come in there potentially. I'm not feeling the Yankees and Dodger thing like that. I'm not buying the big time teams here in the chalk on this one this year. Give me the Padres or the White Sox. I think those are my two favorite picks on the board. Are you sticking with your Mets here? Because certainly 10-1, that's put $100. That's a pretty good return.
I mean, I think the Mets at plus 1,000 are a pretty decent bet. I do prefer, again, I've talked about all the teams, obviously, so it's going to be where I was leaning to with the, winners of the National League and the American League, and I do like the Astros at plus 2,200 because I do think that this is a team that could really, really, they're going to add somebody. If they're in there, they're going to add somebody. Their lineup is deep and can do some real damage. Again, they were terrible last year, and they came real close to moving on. So for me, my favorite bet of it is the Astros at plus 2,200 for, the reasons that, number one, I feel pretty confident that they're going to win the division. Two, I feel pretty confident that they're going to add a significant piece at some point during the season. And again, you get a little Verlander back, which is, I don't know if that's a bold prediction.
I know, I love it. It's bold. I like it.
Because Verlander is not human. And I think if you're like, hi, it's been more than a year since
I just took him for $1 in my home fantasy league at the end of the auction where nobody had any more money and I was the last person with money. And I was like, I'm going to go with Justin Verlander for $1. If he pitches again next year, that's a heck of a keep.
I'm just saying, you give this guy where you're basically like, hey, every other day we're going to give him an inning in that bullpen and he's going to be throwing 98 miles an hour. I mean, that's kind of a game changer when you get to the playoffs. So for me, my favorite World Series bet based on the odds is the Astros at plus 2,200.
All right, let's go to the odds for MVP. We'll start in the American League. Trout or the field, basically, is what we're at.
I mean, the odds are like, what is Trout? 220 or something
plus
like
225. After that, it's Aaron Judge is the consensus at plus 12. Again, the Yankee tax. Jose Ramirez at plus 12, which, again, if you think the Indians really have a chance, he was in this conversation last year. You got Bregman at 12. You got Rendon at 15. Chapman at 15. Ohtani at plus 20, that's the one that, again, if he can pitch 100 innings and drive in 100 runs, how is he not the MVP of the league? That is my case for the Shohei Ohtani dart throw. Now, that's risky, but you're getting 20-1 on it. And Jose Abreu, the defending champ there, is plus 25, which is kind of funny to me that he doesn't get more respect. Right. I think he should, personally. But Abreu and Ohtani are fascinating long shots. You're getting basically the simple 2-1 with Mike Trout. So if you want to bet big on Mike Trout and the plus 225, okay. But how do you see the AL MVP race?
I see it as something where I hate it. I really just don't like it because I do think that it. And again,
it's sink or swim. There's no in between where you can find that in between nice way. You're like, that's a good smart investment. It's Mike Trout of the field. It's back to the old Tiger Wood days.
And I think what you really need to do at this point, if you're not going to go with Mike Trout, is the problem with this is it's an award that's voted on, right? So you have to think about what are people going to be thinking about?
It's a media award, right? Exactly. Which is why I like Ohtani, because to me that is the story of 2021 if that happens.
It's a good point. My only thing is man, he has to absolutely explode because on his own team is Mike Trout, and so you really have to dominate.
But Mike Trout don't pitch.
No, of course. He probably could, though, if he was there. So, look, when I was looking at it, I think Jose Ramirez, again, you'd have to see something where a guy is really responsible for his team's surprising success. Jose Ramirez is a good one. Matt Chapman, again, it's a little short. I was surprised it was only plus 1,500. But he's a guy with his defense, especially adding on the WAR. If the A's do surprise, he could be somebody. And the only other guy I kind of thought of is a guy who everybody waits for. The breakout's going to happen at some point if it does happen this year and his team overperforms, and that's Vladdy. As that plus 2,500. Again, if he does suddenly live up to his potential and the Blue Jays somehow win that division and, odds that you liked, it's a little tough because their lineup is really very, very good. So he'd have to really, really stand out among a lot of very quality hitters with George Springer especially. But again, if he does and if he lives up to his potential and if they win that division, he could win it. So plus 2,500, that's really the only one I might take a shot on.
All right, let's move to the National League, which is very different, way more wide open.
Yep.
Consensus Mookie Betts is plus 750. Juan Soto, my Juan,
Yep.
plus 750. Cody Bellinger at 8, which I don't think is a great wager.
No.
Talked about his health a little bit earlier. Raul Acuna plus 800. Tatis Jr. plus 850, Freddie Freeman at 12, Nolan Arenado at 12, Lindor at plus 1200, and Yelich at plus 1200, not to mention the Bryce Harper plus 15. This thing is wide open, and we didn't even talk about Manny Machado and some other guys that could even kind of throw into this mix, but I think that's kind of, you could throw Pete Alonso in there too if you wanted to, but to me, this is simple. I think Juan Soto is the best player on his team. I think he's the best player on the planet. So I'm going to go plus 750 there. The other guy that would be my number 2 ranking here on wagers would be Fernando Tatis Jr. at plus 850 because he's kind of becoming that new face of baseball. And I think there's a media narrative to the Padres this year because they're fun and exciting and they're all in. And, the snazzy new uniforms they debuted last year, there's juice there. Okay, when it comes to Fernando Tatis Jr. And when you go to Acuna and Freeman, again, same team, Bellinger, Betts, it's always tough when they're on the same team. To me, it's Tatis and Juan Soto. I'm going to go with Soto as my number 1. How do you see National League working out?
Soto is also my number 1 because I don't think the Nationals have to win that division even for him to win it. If he has a monstrous year, his trajectory is otherworldly at this point, and they are just better than you think. They win 88 games, but they lose the division, in the last weekend or something like that. That should be enough for him to get it. So at plus 750, I do like him there. The other guy who I'm looking at, and again, this goes into maybe I'm just a Brewers homer this year, who knows, would be Yelich, just because you've seen how he's won it, but Yelich is the guy on that team, right? If that team does, if there's one guy on that team who could go crazy, and again, he has performed at an MVP level for 2 years straight, and then you had last year, which was just, I'm throwing it out, forget it. If he gets back to what he can do at plus 1200, I'm willing to go with that. I don't mind Tatis either, by the way, but Soto is my number 1 at plus 750, and then Yelich at plus 1200 is my second favorite.
All right, let's move on to the Cy Young, and if you pay attention to Cy Young, these usually come in bunches. So although Garrett Cole is one of the best pitchers in baseball, plus 350 is that consensus number. Shane Bieber is 4-1 at plus 400. That's where my money's going. It's going to Bieber. I think we're in the Shane Bieber cycle right now.
Yeah.
It just feels like that. Watching him this spring, the guy is just so good. Giolito's at 450. Glasnow, I just don't think is going to throw enough innings, so he's 950. Then Ryu, 1,300, and Lance Lynn, 1,700, along with Barrios and Maeda. So this is kind of a two-man race as far as I'm concerned. Even Giolito's great and all, but I'm going to go with Bieber. That's where I'm going to lean. Then I'm going to take the 4-1. How about you?
Yeah, realistically, it's very difficult to make a case for anybody other than those two guys because this year, especially, you are going to deal with innings concerns with almost every pitcher, and probably not those two guys. They're going to pitch a lot of innings, and that's just going to make a difference. And I will say that I feel like Brian Kenny used to go on the rant about kill the win, right?
Yep.
Kill the win. But voters have wised up. They now look beyond just the classic stuff, and I know they're going to realize the impact of innings. So realistically, it probably is one of those two guys, and I would favor Bieber at plus 400. I really like Giolito, but his odds are just at 450 is just not worth it. If it was double that,
if it was 750 or something like that, I'd be more intrigued.
Exactly.
But
at 450, I'm surprised.
It's too close. It tells you how good Giolito is.
It does. I'm surprised, though. I didn't think. And again, Glasnow, I also like a little bit, but at plus 950, again, not there. If I'm going to go for a long shot, it's a guy who I really like this year, and that's Lance McCullers at plus 4,000. And I think, again, what would have to happen is McCullers, I think he threw 55, somewhere around those innings last year. He'd have to add at least 100, maybe 110. And I'm not saying he will or won't. I don't know what necessarily their plan is with him. But if he does, and if he does take that next step, and again, this is a guy, look around, he's plus 4,000 is consensus. At Fox Bet, it's plus 6,000. So there, I would definitely just do a little taste at that point. But again, realistically, it's Cole or Bieber, and I would side with Bieber over Cole like you would.
Amazing to think about Giolito, having he's stuck on that Nationals rotation, and they didn't deal him for Adam Eaton. How different things might be here now. Really, I talked about it the other day on another show here, which is if you think back to that, if Anthony Rendon probably would have stayed, they would have paid him instead of Strasburg if they had Giolito, and that would have been a far better investment. But they dealt 3 pitching prospects for Adam Eaton.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. National League Cy Young, plus 425 for Jacob deGrom. Are we still in the deGrom window? Well, Vegas seems to think so. Trevor Bauer, plus 700. No thanks. I just can't do it. It's a good odd, too. It really is. 7-1 is nice. Max Scherzer, plus 950 is also very intriguing. Walker Buehler at 10-1 at plus 1,000. Yu Darvish is at plus 1,200. This is the one I like the most. I'm sticking with this Yu Darvish narrative. I just think people don't realize that, and sometimes people get tired of voting for the same guy. And if Yu Darvish really hasn't, let's say Yu Darvish wins 20 games and his peripherals are similar to deGrom, and deGrom wins 16, they're going to give it to Yu Darvish, because winning 20 games in 2021 is hard. Yep. It's a hard thing to do. I don't look at Nola or Snell. I mean, I know you're a Snell guy, or Strasburg, or even Charlie Morton. I think these are all just long shots. I think it's deGrom. I think Scherzer is going to get into that conversation, but at the end of the day, I think Darvish and deGrom is where I would kind of spend my money. How do you see National League Cy Young working out?
I think deGrom should be a shorter favorite.
I think he should be at least 3-1 or under. Yeah. And you can find plus 350 at FanDuel for him. That's about...
that's as bad as it gets.
That's bad as it gets there.
Yeah. The consensus line is 425. That's where it is at most books.
That's crazy.
There is value on that. deGrom is the obvious choice because, not only has he shown no slippage in his performance, but he looks better than ever. He's just going. And, you think about a guy like deGrom, who, again, was not a pitcher originally. He was injured, so he doesn't have a ton of miles on his arm. He could have several years left of this. He's just so much better than the field when he's on. So I would go with him. I don't hate Darvish whatsoever. I do like Snell as well, which, again, we have seen the upside of Snell, so I do like him. And again, I don't mind Morton at 2,200 because I do think that, again, innings are going to make a difference this year. I expect a guy like Morton, who was injured last year, but when you saw his velocity come back in the postseason, you saw his performance come back as well. Maybe the last year of his career, they're going to let him pitch as much as he can. So if he is able to get out there with 170, 180 innings, because what's the need to save Charlie Morton? And he does get back to what he does best, he's got a shot there. But realistically, deGrom at plus 425, there's massive amounts of value on that still at this point, and he would be the real guy. If I only had one pick to make, it would be that.
All right, moving on to the Rookie of the Year in the American League, Randy Arozarena. Oh my goodness. Plus 350, the consensus top. I am fading this so hard. I'm just fading it all together. Jared Kelenic is plus 1,000. Wander Franco plus 1,000. I do think you're going to see Wander Franco this year. But Andrew Vaughn at plus 11 consensus. By the way, you can get him at plus 20-1 on places like BetMGM.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He's going to be playing from day one. This is, to me, one of my favorite things we're going to talk about today because Andrew Vaughn's going to get the ABs. He's going to be there from day one. He's got a ton of lineup support. It's Andrew Vaughn. I'm sorry. And if it's not, I'll take the heat on it.
Yep.
But Mize has been terrible. Pearson's hurt. Rutschman and Mountcastle play for the Orioles, and I just don't think they're going to really make that kind of a big jump. And I like Kirilloff, but he's not going to be starting day one. And Tristan McKenzie is a nice pitcher. To me, it's Andrew Vaughn and stand back. And Wander Franco is probably the higher rated prospect, and he should be. But Andrew Vaughn, I think, is the best setup this year to win Rookie of the Year.
Absolutely agree. He's going to start the year in the majors, almost certainly. As we record this, I don't know if that's been officially announced yet, but he's been playing the outfield as well, which apparently he's not terrible at, which is a little surprising to me.
Can't be worse than Eloy Jimenez.
That is also
the bar.
True. The bar was exceptionally low. So he is going to play, and he can hit. Without a doubt, he can hit. I have no doubt that he's going to hit in the major. So at plus 1,100, there is value. And again, you mentioned it. BetMGM plus 2,000 all day long. I love that.
That's the spot.
I don't mind Kirilloff. You mentioned it. He is not starting in the majors. I did not expect him to start in the majors this year. They'll buy the extra year of control. He also made it easier for them by the fact that he had a terrible spring, but his minor league track record shows that he can hit. It's Jake Cave in left field. They're going to need to win to be able to keep up with the White Sox. So I think he's going to be up in 3 weeks.
Doesn't Jake Cave sound like a fake singer from a Disney Channel show? I just felt, I don't know,
wherever you were going with that, I was going to find it humorous because I think you could go anywhere you want with Jake Cave.
He's got his collar up. He's Jake Cave. He's the coolest guy on campus. He plays
whatever he is. He's going to be out of a job in 3 weeks, is my guess. And I think Kirilloff can hit as soon as he gets there. But he is not good defensively either. So again, I think it's Vaughn because you've got it. But at plus 2,000, I wouldn't mind taking a shot at Kirilloff as well.
All right, so let's close things out here at National League Rookie of the Year. Brian Hayes at plus 350, the favorite, which is.
Yep.
Look, I'm fine with this. It's good. Yep. It's fine. Sixto Sanchez at plus 500. Who I love Sixto Sanchez, but I don't know if this is where I want to go. Dylan Carlson is plus 700. And then, oh, wait, Ian Anderson plus 750? Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yep.
Ian Anderson's a Brave. Have we not seen how many Brave Rookie of the Years we've had in our lifetime? I mean, look, you want to build the narrative. This is a good team that's going to be winning probably 90-plus games, and Ian Anderson's going to be a big part of it. So as much as I love the talent of Ke'Bryan Hayes, Ian Anderson is my wager here. If you want to look past this, you're looking at Joey Bart and Pache and Tyler Stevenson. Ha-Seong Kim hasn't hit a damn thing this spring, and Spencer Howard is already sent down. Same thing with Gore. So, to me, it's Ian Anderson. If you want to make a case for Dylan Carlson or Ke'Bryan Hayes, the floor is yours, but I'm going to go with the pitcher.
Yeah, Ian Anderson is my favorite at plus 750. And again, we both like him. We do a lot of fantasy work. And, when you do that, you really have to dig in to all of these pitchers. And just, again, I think we both had the same feeling on him, which is when we started sort of our preparation for the 2021 baseball season, we did not like Ian Anderson. And by the time we were done with it, we loved Ian Anderson. Now, there is a bottom-out situation here for sure. He struggles with his control. His control wasn't great this spring. But still, he's really, really good. And in the Braves rotation at plus 750, I like it. The only other one I would take a shot on is the favorite, Ke'Bryan Hayes, because I'm actually a pretty big Ke'Bryan Hayes fan.
I worry about the lack of line of protection around
But
him
I
now.
don't think that matters nearly as much when you're talking about one of these individual awards that's not an MVP award.
No. I mean to support him having good stats.
Sure.
Because when you take away all the lineups, like there's no Marte, there's no Josh Bell.
Oh,
he's
that
on an
lineup
island
is
now.
abysmal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the lineup is abysmal, and I wonder about that because when the young kid, does he start to go fishing when they don't throw him any fastballs anymore? That's my concern with Ke'Bryan Hayes. That's it.
I think, it's possible, but he certainly didn't last year, which was, the lineup wasn't quite as bad, but it was pretty bad. And I like his talent. I like sort of the StatCast data that I saw that makes me think, but it's true. When you are a young player and you are in a team that is absolutely terrible and you're the only hitter that can really do some damage, chances are you're not going to see some great pitches, and that might make you a little impatient. But at plus 350, I'm still willing to take the shot. I agree, though, that Ian Anderson at plus 750 is my favorite. The only other thing, I do love Sixto Sanchez as well, but he's going to start the year in, either the alternate side or the minors or whatever it is, just to build up. So it's going to be really difficult to see him topping like maybe 140 innings this year. They're going to be careful with him. So for me, that takes me off of him at plus 500. Much prefer Anderson at plus 750.
That's where they keep Dan and myself when we're not doing shows.
True.
The alternate site. That
Very
is
true.
the place they put us away, and then they dust us off for a show whenever they need us here over at Betting Pros. So again, go to bettingpros.com. You can take a look at all these futures that we're talking about. Everything's on here. Dan, anything else to mention here before we close things out here today from Betting Pros?
Just that I'm so incredibly excited to get started for the MLB season. By the way, if you haven't joined Discourse, okay, which is our free, it's bettingpros.com/chat. If you follow Matt Peralt's Daily Juice podcast, you're probably already in there. But bettingpros.com/chat, it's a bunch of people who talk about sports betting, and there are different channels, and there's an MLB betting channel. I'm going to be in there all season long. I'm going to be giving out bets per, maybe not on every single day, but most days I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be talking. I mean, just come talk about some betting.
Where can everybody get in there?
Bettingpros.com/chat, CHAT, free to enter. It's got we just passed 5,000 members in there.
Wow.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's great. A lot of people like to talk about sports betting. It's fantastic. Again, and you meet a lot of people, by the way. Not only that, there are a lot of really sharp people in there. And if you're new to sports betting, especially, you can learn a lot. You learn a lot about the way a lot of different people, and there's we have an esports betting channel, right? You have every single, anything you want to bet on, go in there. Again, totally free, bettingpros.com/chat.
All right, that'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Dan Harris, I'm Joe Pisapia. We'll see you next time, kids.